What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Salud Cabrones podcast. I am Danny Viegas.
And I am Javier Ledesma.
And before we get started, we ask that you like, comment, subscribe, and share the Salud Cabrones podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. And follow us on all social media platforms at Salud Cabrones podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, he is, we know him as a wrestling brother. We know him as a, he ring announces. We know him from ring announcing with Powell. He ring announces for other companies, but he's also a horror buff, donut lover. This guy's covered in tattoos, man. It's our thing.
Musician as well, if I'm not mistaken.
As well. Jesus.
The man that wears a lot of
A
hats.
lot of hats.
And they're more than likely, they're probably bedazzled and they're really fun looking hats, too.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Germ T. Ripper in the building.
Woo!
What is going on, Germ?
Nothing much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Germ.
Thank
like
you.
I said, we know you from wrestling. We know you from ring announcing, but it's cool because obviously in wrestling it's very, hi, how you doing? Okay, bye. Got to, because it's everything's moving.
Right.
So it's cool to actually sit and talk with you and actually get to know you, man. So thanks for coming, hanging out.
Yeah, no problemo. I was excited. It's a bit of a drive, but I'm happy to be here. Talking. I love being a guest on podcasts, and this is one of my favorites to listen to. So I'm happy to be here.
You hear that? We didn't pay him to say that either. See that? That's what I'm talking about, man. See, Germ knows what's up.
Definitely. Germ, when I started, when I befriended you and I started following you on social media, I quickly gained a completely different interest in what you do in the ring because you have a lot of the same interests that I do. Mm-hmm. You're a huge horror movie buff, and you have a large collection of vinyl records as well. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of stuff when you post on social media. I'm always like, how did I not know that? I'm like, that's cool. I started to know you via social media. And I've been looking forward to this interview for quite a long time, just so that I could actually get these moments to actually talk to you. A lot of the guys, when they ask us about the podcast, they're like, hey, man, who do you guys have coming up, blah, blah, blah. And I told them, I kind of want to get Germ on. And a lot of people had this huge smirk and smile on their face. They're like, oh, we can't wait for you to guys have Germ. And some of those guys know some stories about you. Others don't. But, being an announcer, a lot of times you're not backstage, you're out in front, you're doing everything. So when we're out there talking, shooting shit, so to speak, you already did your stuff. You said your hellos and you walked off and you're already working. So it becomes very difficult for us to kind of sit down and kind of really get to know you. So this is an opportunity that I'm really, really happy to have right now.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Because like I said, you've been ring announcing, man. I mean, how long have you been ring announcing in general?
Well, not very long. I had trained with Powell for a little while, about a year and a half, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be a manager, like a valet manager type role, and carry along my character, my stage presence of Germ T. Ripper from my band Modern Day Rippers. Flamboyant, rock and roll, out of control type of guy. And it was getting there. And I was doing my show in between matches, Ripper's Room, where I would interview.
I remember that, yes. Yep.
Do 5 questions with a wrestler. And I'd always get interrupted, and I always got chased out of the ring. And it was going great. And then there was just one point where, I've got a very stressful job. And I get a kind of stressful life with everything going on. So with everything sort of compiling on top of each other, I had to bow out. And I took a little break from wrestling. And then when Jimmy Blaze and Mateo Valentine decided to have their first Pride show, they reached out to me and they said, hey, Germ, would you want to ring announce this? And I jumped at the opportunity because I was just like, I missed the family. Yeah. I missed the entertainment aspect of it. I missed the fans. Because Power Entertainment has some of the best fans in the world, absolutely. And I miss being the character of Germ T. Ripper. The G to the E to the R to the M. The T stands for the, but you already knew that. And we're about to rip it up in a modern way. So it's got to be Mr. Germ T. Ripper. So when I went and I had that first show is at a Brar House, and it was so much fun. And there were so many cool guests. It was just amazing time. And, of course, one of my favorite ring announcers, Kirby Alexander, was there. And He's like, you've got to keep doing this. You do a great job. You stayed in character. You barely used your cards. You looked amazing out there. And so that really encouraged me to keep going. And, every once in a while I'll pop back in the ring. It's a nice little special surprise, I think. And, whenever Jimmy Blaze or whoever else wants me, I'm there for them. Just make sure I got time to plan for it. I got a lot going on, like the guys were saying. When I even try to think about everything I've done in my life, it's like, okay, I've been a podcaster. I wrote a book. I've been in like 5 different bands. I ran a record label. I played a season of rugby. I DJ. I was a professional drag queen for a little while. I've done like so many things that I'm sure I'm forgetting something in the mix here. I've written horror movie critiques for different websites. I wrote for Riot Fest website. So yeah, I just stay really busy, and the last big thing that I put out was that book, The Lilac Retribution Theory.
I was gonna say, what book is that? What book did you write?
Yeah, Lilac Retribution Theory. It came out in September 20th of 2024, and it took me 5 years to really compile because it's 13 short stories, and they usually have some sort of connective tissue, and they're all like horror fiction. But the more you know me, the more you understand that it's reflective of who I am. So, and there's even one of the stories is about a wrestling. It's about professional wrestling. So, there's something in it for everybody. And I'm really proud of this.
And
so.
what made you want to write this book?
Well, it's funny. I had never written fiction before I started writing that first story, which was called Skate or Die, and it was very juvenile because when I was writing different movie reviews and stuff for different websites, Heather Buckley, who is a film producer, she produced The Ranger, she produced The Sacrifice Game. She reached out to me. She's like, this guy is doing a book. It's all punk rock horror stories, and you got to write for him. I was like, I've never written fiction. She's like, just do it. So I remembered a story that I came up with in like 6th grade, and I just went off on it, sent it in, they accepted it, and from then on I just kept writing more short stories. They'd always get published in different zines and stuff. And so when I had like 10 or 11 of these short stories written, I reached out to the publisher and I said, hey, would you be interested in compiling all these stories into one book? And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Because the more I looked at it, the more like these stories had things in common. And so I wrote one original story that had never been published and then made new drafts of everything so that even if you'd read it, there's going to be something different if you read the book. So, yeah, that's how it came about, really, is just somebody telling me do it.
And where did your inspiration for these stories come from?
From everywhere, there's kind of like, I love challenging myself. I love pushing myself. So, the first story is sort of splatterpunk, just, cutting off heads and shitting down necks. And then, the next one may be more like folk horror. Folk horror usually has to do with the woods, talking animals, mythical creatures. And then another one is going to be more metaphysical, so like different dimensions and creatures interloping into the real world. I just wanted to push myself with each story, so it was nothing like too tame. They actually started a new division, Screaming in the Dark books. My publisher started a new division of his label just for more extreme literature, like my book, to be put out. So, it's fun, though. And I just love pushing myself to the limit creatively.
No,
You mentioned that you've written reviews about horror movies and things like that. Has anybody ever reviewed your book to the point that they've said, hey, man, this will make a really good like movie or like short flick, whatever it may be?
Well, that's what I keep hoping for, but nobody has. I kind
Danny's
of,
an actor.
yeah. I've seen him in a few things.
Oh my God. You got the guy right there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was kind of hoping, since it was a film producer that told me write this book.
Yeah.
And I actually had the foreword to the book is a short interview I did with her on why she wanted me to write this book. So, I sent her a copy, make sure she had a copy of it. And, if somebody ever decided they wanted to do a film on one of these stories or all of the stories, I would be thrilled because I love movies,
Is there a particular story that's your favorite that you would want to be featured like that?
That's hard to say because they're all pretty sort of pretty extreme. They might have to pull it back a little bit or change. I mean, they always change stories up before they actually hit the big screen. Well, the one that I think is kind of funny but kind of messed up is it was the wrestling one I wrote. The original title of it was The KKK Took My Baby Away, but when I rewrote it for the book, the title of it is now Road to Ruin, and it's about down south. This nerdy black guy, he wants to take this girl out on a date, and he's talking to her, and she's like, well, there is this wrestling show that I want to go to. And he was like, you like wrestling? And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll take you to it. And they go, and then the violence, like real violence, breaks out, and they kidnap the girl. And then the wrestlers that were in the ring during the event get killed in the process. So he takes those wrestlers back down to his morgue and he revives them, but he sews them together into one giant wrestler, and they have to go rescue this girl. I think that would be fun. It's very Rob Zombie-esque. It's very silly, very over the top.
I think that would actually, I don't know if I would like that in a live action. I think I would love that like in a graphic type, like animated version, because I think you'd be able to get away with a lot more in that version of it. Sounds interesting. Side note, from your Skate or Die and now your KKK Took My Baby Away, I can see your influences right here. Like I'm thinking about like the old Road Rash video games, the Skate or Die. You have like the KKK Took My Baby. That's a song title there. So I'm like, okay, I see where he's going with all this.
Well, the interesting about that one is that a different publisher was going to do a book of all Ramones influenced stories. And so I came up with the idea of like a white power biker gang kidnapping a girl, and it's going to be like a revenge thing. And then it just like, I'm like, but there's going to be wrestlers, and there's going to be bikers and zombies. There's going to be zombies, and there's going to be mutant wrestlers. Yeah, this is going to be, so it just went in a whole different direction. And I was lucky that my publisher's just like, sure, I'll put up whatever.
It sounds out there.
And then like the main bad guy in it is actually a woman, and she keeps like throwing out different quotes from different Ramones songs. But if you don't know the song, you're not going to pick up on the lyric. So it's kind of funny.
Now, is there other books in the works right now?
No, man. That's the thing. I've been sober for 6 years. Was November 7th of 2018.
Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
That's my sober date. So a little over 6 years. And the thing with that is I mention it because with it, I've become content. I'm content with everything in my life. And it's a huge thing to get, contented sobriety. And with that, though, I'm not like, oh, I've got to do this, I got to do that, I got to push myself creatively, I've got to get my hands on this, because before I was always busy, with 2-3 bands at a time, running a record label and DJing. I remember there was one night where one of my bands was playing, and then as soon as I got done playing, I had to go DJ, and I was okay living in this chaos. But that's what it was. It was chaos. It's just overloading my system. So once I got sober and once I started working the program and doing the 12 steps with my sponsor, everything sort of fell into place, and everything became a lot easier because I didn't have to keep thinking about what do I got to do to prove myself? What do I got to do? So if I write another book, cool. If I don't, I'm fine with that too. I'm just happy to be alive and happy to keep on moving, you know?
Like I said first, congrats on the sobriety. That's
Thank you
awesome,
so
man.
much.
What was that? What was that point where you felt like, what was that breaking point for you where you were like, I need to get sober?
Well, it's crazy to think about, you know, because people talk about hitting their bottom. And for some people, hitting their bottom means losing their significant other, their wife, or again, a divorce, or maybe wrecking their car. For mine, it wasn't a physical bottom at all. For me, it was after my dad died. Every time I drank, I got more and more depressed. And it was like pouring lighter fluid, because you know alcohol is a depressant. So it's like pouring lighter fluid on a fire inside of myself that was depression, and it would get out of control. And every time I would drink, I'd get closer and closer to taking my own life. You know, I got a gun on my bedside table, so it's really easy to do. And there was a time when my gun was in my mouth, and I had to stop myself. So my mom was coming to visit me that fall after my dad had passed away, because I grew up in New Hampshire. And the night before she came to visit, I decided I'm never going to drink again. I don't want to be another statistic. I don't want my mom to have to bury me. So I put down that drink, and I never had one again. No drink, no pills, no cocaine, nothing. And it was really hard to do by myself, because I didn't think I needed a program. I didn't think I needed AA. But I did that 4 years by myself. And all that depression and all the anxiety and all those dark, intrusive thoughts, they still kept swirling around, and they were waiting. And I could feel them all the time. I just kept pushing through every day and doing it by myself. It's when I decided, going through therapy, that I needed more. So when I started going to AA and seeing people in the rooms, people that were like me, hearing their stories about the similarities, it all clicked. And that's how I found serenity, you know. And it's a big step. I feel like I'm a totally different person than I was 6 years ago. But at the same time, trying to think back and see the good times, I don't see the good times from drinking. I don't see the good times from using. And there was so many times that I was just living out of control, coming home 8, 9 in the morning, eyes looked like crap because I was doing any drugs people were handing me. I was drinking all the booze. You know, I couldn't stop. My life was uncontrollable. So I'm just happy. You know, I pray every day, and I'm just happy that, I'm grateful for a life of sobriety, sanity, and serenity.
Wow.
That's awesome, man.
That is awesome, man.
Congrats again, man. That's awesome that you took that step, and you realized it on your own, and you took that step, man. And 6 years sober, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it means the most to me.
What advice can you give someone going through that situation and they feel that they can't do it?
Well, I mean, it's hard to reach out. It's hard to think about giving up and surrendering, you know, because we're grown up in a culture. I mean, I think like generations now, it's maybe a little bit easier. It's stressed that, mental health is important. But us, we're a little bit older, and we've grown up in like a hyper masculine atmosphere where you got to be so cool and tough and smart, where you got to handle your own problems yourself. If you're having mental health issues, if you're having problems with addiction, reach out now. Do it today, because the sooner you get a hold on that, the sooner the better, because it's a progressive disease. So the sooner you can get a hold of that, the sooner you can get it under control, and it's not going to control you.
Then the creativity that you have, did you have it while you were using, or did it all start after you stopped and you had the clear mind?
No, I was definitely always a creative person, because when I was in the Rotten Fruits, the Modern Day Rippers, Brick Wall Vultures, and the Short Timers, my 4 bands since I've lived in Chicago, I was always out of control. And, people expected that. They expected that chaos. And I always pushed myself more and more and more to give it to them, and that was fine. But it wasn't to the point where, I'm driving home, wrecking cars, wrecking relationships. But none of that seemed to bother me, because I felt like I could parallel park sometimes. So I was a hero,
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm not going to work hungover. I have a job. I have a house. I have a career. So I can handle that. Wrecking a car, I'll just buy another car. What the fuck? But I wasn't, once I lost control, I knew it for real. Because that emotional, that spiritual bottom I hit was just too hard for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, good, man. It's good to see you on the up, man. That's
Thank
awesome. You. Now, I want to touch on your music, man, on your band. You said you played in 5 bands?
4 since I lived in Chicago, yeah.
And you were always a musician? You grew up into it?
Well, that's the funny thing. I can't play an instrument.
Oh, really?
I can't play a single
instrument.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I wrote the lyrics, I booked the shows, and I've always been the front man.
Okay.
I've always been that guy that's going to get the crowd hyped up.
You have the personality for it, so
exactly.
I can see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was the front man. I barely call what I do singing, but, I sold records, and it was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but that's where the personality of Germ T. Ripper comes from, because my longest running band, Modern Day Rippers, took the last name from my band, because that's what you do in the punk rock world. Mm-hmm. When you change your name to a punk rock name, it's usually part of it is from your band. And then Germ is just short for Jeremy, which is my real name. And T, as I always say, stands for the. So it's Germ T. Ripper.
Germ the Ripper.
Yeah.
And then who are your musical influences?
Ooh, that's a good question. I kind of wear them on me, because I love the Ramones. I love New York Dolls. I love Black Flag, the Germs, mostly like really outrageous old school punk rock, Dead Boys, a lot of glam rockers, T-Rex, David Bowie, Iggy Pop, big fan of Iggy Pop, Gigi Allen. Not so much as for the throwing the shit on the crowd, but
throwing the shit on the crowd.
You never heard of Gigi Allen?
No.
Oh, Gigi Allen. He's most notoriously known for like coming out on stage in just a jock strap and taking a shit on the stage and throwing it at the crowd.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And people still go to these shows?
Well, he's been dead for.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Yeah, he's been dead since like the late '90s.
Wow.
Yeah. I pissed on his grave.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Like you actually did?
Yeah.
That's a sign of respect, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I grew up in New Hampshire, and he was born in New Hampshire. So he's buried in a small town in New Hampshire. And we went out to find his grave, my band in high school. And, we looked around, make sure there was no cars coming. And a couple of us pissed on his grave, and we left some bullet shells and whatever else we had laying around, some whiskey bottles.
Wait, so that's actually a sign of respect for him, pissing on the grave?
If that's who he is. I mean, not everybody is wanting to piss. Like, example, I've been to like musical grave sites as well as wrestling grave sites. I'm not pissing on
That's what I'm asking.
I'm like, all right, Eddie, I really love you.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, it's funny because I recently watched a documentary about his family, and his brother does not think this is funny, and his brother does not think this is a sign of respect at all. His brother gets very mad about this.
Well, I could understand that.
Yeah.
I could understand.
And it's funny because my band actually opened for his band one point, but I don't remember it because that's how fucked up I was. But I wonder if I shared that story with him or not. I just remember that my drummer at the time was not happy because he let them, the Murder Junkies, use his drum kit, and the drummer stuck his drumstick up his ass.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I love Danny's response to any of this is always going to be shock. Oh God! Oh God!
Shoving a drumstick up someone's ass. That's a shock right there, bro.
Could be. Yeah, it should be.
I mean,
In any sane world, sure.
that's a different form of the shocker right there. Oh wow. Okay, I learned something today.
Yeah, that's the murder junkies. Yeah.
There you go, Danny. There you go.
Yeah. Wow.
So you got your entire body. You mentioned your tattoos right now, and anyone that follows you on social media, you post a lot of shirtless pictures.
I do.
And-
I'm happy with the way my body looks, so I've no problem sharing
And
it.
you
Flaunt
are
it, dog. Flaunt it.
covered in tattoos. Most people that think they have a lot of tattoos, they don't know what a lot of tattoos are until they see someone like you that has literally pretty much in their entire body they're covered. So you mentioned your musical tattoos. What other tattoos do you have on that like mean a lot to you? Example, when I saw one of your first shirtless pictures, I was like, oh, that is awesome. He's got Clockwork Orange right on his stomach there,
Yeah.
right underneath, above the masks from the day of the season of the witch from Halloween. So I was like, this is really badass.
Yeah.
So what else do you have on there that means a lot to you?
I mean, there is a lot of music. There's a lot of movie influences because I know that, like you said, there's a Clockwork Orange, and then on one side is the mop from Toxic Avenger, and then there is a profile picture of Divine in Female Trouble, where she's in the courtroom and she's about to be executed. There's a big vulture across my chest because I had a band called Brickwall Vultures, and I also like taking traditional ideas and subverting them somehow. So, you know, a lot of people have eagles across their chest, so I figured I'd get a vulture. You know, one of my first tattoos is this Sacred Heart, and instead of a crown of thorns, I got a zipper on it. So, you know, I got a lot of Ramones, and like I got the logo to my record label, Sexy Baby Records. I don't know. I got a memorial to my English bulldog that passed away, Brutus, on my side right here. So that's probably the most meaningful one. And then
Was he named after Brutus the Barber Beefcake, or where did Brutus come from?
I just didn't know what to name him, and he was
He looks like a Brutus.
yeah, he looked like a Brutus.
Brutus.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because ever since I've mainly named my dogs after singers and bands. You know, I had a Darby, I had a Joey, and right now I have a Patty and a Hank. So, you know, on my back I have a back piece that's almost finished. It is based off a Norman Rockwell painting of a clown with two dogs, and I had my tattoo artist change the two dogs to pit bulls to represent the two pit bulls that I've had that passed away. So, yeah, I love clowns. So,
How many tattoos do you say you have right now?
man, I have
You lost count, right?
No idea. No idea. But I'm pretty much covered from the waist up, and then I have 3 on each calf. And the ones on my legs are all movie influence. So, you know, there's Leatherface.
There's Leatherface right there.
Okay.
I think they're
Good looking man right there.
yeah, Freddy Krueger, Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver.
Nice.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Shit. And you said you got a music label? You got it right now?
I don't think it's still around because I gave it up like a while ago, kind of when I was getting overwhelmed with everything. And then the guy I was running it with, he kind of shot it off into like a good direction. You know, he was signing like real bigger name artists. Everclear put out something on there. Iggy Pop
Really?
put out, yeah.
Wow.
What
Yeah.
made you want to start this record label?
Well, my first album of my band Modern Day Rippers was supposed to be put out by this guy in Puerto Rico, and his label's called Machete Records. Well, he kept sort of jerking me around. He's like, "Oh, could you send me a T-shirt? Can you send me another record?" I was like, "You know what? Screw this guy. I'm just gonna put it out myself."
Yeah.
So I always call my fans sexy babies, and I still do now when I'm ring announcing.
Yeah.
And so the name of the record label is Sexy Baby Records. And yeah, we signed a bunch of local artists. We signed, then towards the end, it was like a lot of bigger artists that have been around for a long time, you know. So
You call all your fans sexy babies?
Sexy Babies.
Damn, man, when you call me that, I took it like damn, sexy. But now I realize it was you call everybody that. Damn. Never mind.
Danny's ego got really inflated.
It did. It did.
Everybody
Man.
in here is a good-looking baby.
Sexy baby. That is one thing you have when you're out there ring announcing. There's a charisma that you have that very few announcers can even match, and there's a certain energy that you bring to that. Do you, when you were getting into the wrestling industry, what were your influences there? Like, because I mean, you came in there to want to be a manager. You ended up being a damn good announcer. So where did that all kind of come to be?
My biggest influences are like Jimmy Hart, Bobby the Brain Heenan, definitely Jimmy Hart, and then of course Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes is probably my biggest influence.
You have a lot of Dusty in you. You're a character.
I like the way he talks on the mic. I love that. You know, and then of course as an announcer, I look at other announcers that are working right now, like Mr. Riccolo. Is definitely a huge influence on me. Kirby Alexander, Larry Legend. So I mean, these are all guys still working right now, and yeah, they have a huge influence on me. So, but yeah, a lot of the old school stuff, the showmanship, the charisma, and then some of the new school stuff that obviously borrowed from the old school.
How did you do on the very first day you were given that microphone?
Hmm?
How was your first day that they gave you that microphone?
Oh man, it was magic.
Did you feel nervous?
I'm believe it or not, I'm a nervous guy. I'm always nervous. No matter how many times I've been on stage, no matter how many times or different things that I've tried, I always have nervous energy, and I just kind of use that nervous energy though and put on a big show and expel it into a creative outlet that, you know, I think most people appreciate.
What's the difference between Germ T. Ripper and Jeremy?
I think Jeremy is much more of the serenity. He's preaching sobriety. He's preaching, you know, just equality and chill out. Don't worry about it. We're going to be okay. Germ T. Ripper is about chaos. And Germ T. Ripper is about making sure everybody has a good time and making a scene and making sure that, you know, it's larger than life. And that's what a hype man should be, in my opinion. Germ T. Ripper will make sure that if he's doing something, the world's going to know about it. Everybody's going to know about it, and it's going to invite everybody, and it's going to be a big deal. Jeremy, on the other hand, is content to sit at home
with his dogs,
watch a movie, enjoy the day, chill out, and that's fine, you know. And the two parts of me coincide. You know, I'm a Gemini, so that juxtaposition of personalities works for me. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And then what I like to watch is your donut critiques. How did that start?
Well, that's an interesting story too, because it was during the height of the pandemic, and I don't know if you know him or not, but Jeff Cannonball, he's a wrestler out of New Jersey, was doing short soda reviews on like Twitter and stuff, and everybody started copying him. They were all doing their own soda reviews. I was like, you can't just straight out steal somebody's gimmick.
Yeah.
You gotta, if you like it and you want to do something similar, you take it and you change it a little. So, I mean, it is gimmick infringement. I'm completely honest about that. But I took his short soda reviews and made it quick donut critique. And, you know, people seem to really like it. And it was at the time when I got banned from Facebook for some reason. I don't remember what. So this was just content.
You're a Facebook delinquent.
Yeah, at least I was. At least I was.
That was probably Germ that did that. I don't think Jeremy.
Jeremy
won't.
I remember what it was too. Now that I think about it, I posted a meme that I had made. With one wrestler was grabbing another wrestler's junk in the middle of a match, and I wrote something to the effect of, you know, sometimes you got to give a buddy a hand or something like that. And Facebook saw it as porn. And I was like, that's not porn. They got their clothes on, whatever. So, I got 2 weeks for that. And I was like, in the meantime, let's come up with something new so that at least people on Instagram will get something different than whatever. And I started doing it. It was silly and funny, and people liked it. And I think it was John Wayne Murdoch was the first wrestler I had on as a guest because it was his birthday. And I had gotten like 2 birthday cake donuts. And it just took off from there because, I tagged him and the other people saw it and other people wanted to do it. And then it came this thing where people kind of expected it. I'm like, calm down. If I, calm down. Maybe I'll bring you a donut. Maybe I won't. Why don't you bring me donuts? Huh?
What's your favorite donut spot?
Damn, bro.
Like putting me out there like that. They're listening to this.
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. What's your favorite donut spot?
I got to know where the good ones are at, bro.
Right. You know what? All of them I like for different reasons. I love Do-Right Donuts because their old fashions are amazing. And I love their birthday cake flavored donut. The place that I brought today, Fire Cakes, I like them because they're more of an elevated flavor. That's usually a palate that, you're not going to find at more juvenile establishments. I like Dip and Sip donuts a lot because it's like a very moist, very sugary cake. I love Stan's donuts just because they always have a rotation of flavors and toppings. Yeah, I like them all for different reasons. Yeah.
And I saw that you just recently had Danhausen as a guest.
I did.
How did that happen?
Well, my good friends, the Horror House in Chicago, they always have different celebrities and stuff stop by to do signings. It's kind of like a horror movie convention, but in a store. You know what I mean? In a small store in was it Avondale neighborhood, and
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's hard not to spend a lot of money in that place.
It really is.
I walked in, I'm like, shit.
Real quick, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Money goes fast, but it's a fun place, and I love those guys. They always take care of me, and I was at work, and I was like, man, I got to try and dip out of here early so I can get over there. I start texting him real quick. I was like, hey, do you think that Danhausen could wait like a half an hour while I go pick up a couple donuts? He's like, let me ask him. So he was doing like a merch signing at the Horror House. And I got out of there. I got out of work a little bit early to try and get over there. And, I picked up some donuts at Liberation Kitchen because there was like a vegan donut place near my work. And, it's, you can't even tell it's vegan or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a problem with that. They're delicious donuts. They were triple chocolate donuts, and they were amazing. And I could tell by Danhausen's reaction, he had never seen what I do before. Mm-hmm. But it was still a lot of fun.
There was something about him during that interview that he was just like, it almost like he was like caught off guard, and like his character wasn't flowing at that particular moment. I think you broke him with the donut.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
So when you walked in, you just asked him and if you can do it?
They told him beforehand because he waited like an extra, I want to say half an hour while I tried to get the donuts and get over there. And so he knew that it was a quick donut critique. He'd just never seen it before.
Okay.
So he didn't know, like, I'm going to rub his belly. He didn't know. He didn't know, like, I say something, he says something, and then we say something together. He didn't realize it's just a quick, funny, silly thing. Like the time I got Santa Claus to do a quick donut critique, Santa Claus didn't realize that it's a 30-second thing. Because I was like, hey, can I just steal you for 30 seconds? It's like, what do you want to do? I was like, a quick donut critique. He's like, oh, we're going to review a donut? Sure, let's do a review. And Santa Claus was just like, oh, that was it? That's all you want? Yeah, it's 30 seconds. It's very quick.
So then you go there and so then did you explain to him, Danhausen, before you guys started, like, this is what we're going to do. This is how, we're going to take a bite, say something, I'm going to rub the belly, and that's it.
Oh, I didn't tell him about the belly rubbing, and we didn't watch the whole clip, but I showed him one I'd done with Hoodfoot. I think that was the last one I posted before I got Danhausen, but I showed him the one I did with Hoodfoot, and he's like, oh, okay. Like 2 seconds into it, he's like, oh, yeah, okay. That was about it.
Because like Javier said, it looked like he kind of broke. It did look like kind of broke him a little bit.
Yeah, he was like, oh. Yeah, because I've seen so many of them, and people like that are used to seeing them with you. They play along, and it was funny because as you're watching it, you're like, is he in character? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm like, that donut broke him. He's like, it's chocolatey, very chocolatey.
Well, it was funny because you get to keep the donut. You finish the donut, and he was just like, "Yeah, I got a wrestling match tonight. I can't eat this whole thing."
Have you done the donuts from what was that the place that Punk likes his donuts from?
Mindy's.
Mindy's. Have you done Mindy's yet?
No, where's that?
Mindy's Bakery. That's what it is.
Where's that?
It's in the north side
Somewhere
somewhere.
in the north side, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but
That's the famous one that he pubbed during the
during the brawl at AEW.
what do they call it? What do they call it? The scrums, the media
scrum.
scrums. Yeah.
He was eating the donuts
Yeah.
right before like he went off, and that's when he's like, "I'm old,
I'm tired. and I
work with children."
I'm working with child.
But he was eating all the muffins. He said they're from Mindy's Bakery.
It was a
That's what
muffin, right?
Yeah.
Or,
They do donuts and a bunch of other
do
stuff
they?
in there. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know they did donuts, but I'll have to check that out.
I was wondering, I was like, if anybody knows, it's you. So, like, of all the places that you mentioned, what is like? You mentioned like different styles of donuts. Do you have a particular donut that is your favorite donut?
Probably the birthday cake donut from Do Right Donuts.
That's your all-time favorite.
It's got a great consistency. It's got a great flavor, and I'm a sucker for sprinkles. I love sprinkles. Yeah.
Now, how do you know all these? Like, are you looking places up? Are you trying to find places that you've never done before, and you're gonna, you go out of your way just to get them, just because something you've never tried before?
Well, like when I first started it, I worked in the neighborhood where Do Right Donuts had their spot, and I used to stop in and get a donut and a coffee every day. And so when I started it, I'm like, oh man, I got this donut. Let me just do this real quick. And then, of course, once I did it with every donut from Do Right Donuts, I was like, well, I got to start going to other spots. And so Stan's is all over the place, and Stan's has great donuts, too. I love their flavors. And then, yeah, I had to keep going and going because it's kind of that thing back when I was in bands where I just felt like I have to keep doing this gimmick. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'll take a few weeks off. If I'm actually plan on going somewhere, I'll bring stuff, but I'm not going to purposely go out of my way to go to a wrestling match just to get somebody that I don't know or somebody I'm not interested in. I'm like, I can wait 3 weeks. People will appreciate seeing somebody that either I'm excited to see or somebody that I'm friends with or whatever the case may be. But yeah, like when I went to New Jersey, the Rise England wrestling team or promotion was coming to New Jersey, and they were it was going to be like ICW No Holds Barred versus them. And so I went to this place, Mama Bunt's Donuts in New Jersey, and I was only going to get 6 donuts, and she's like, we don't sell them by 6. Mm-hmm. So we wound up buying 15 donuts, 16 donuts. And I recorded, 9, 10, 11 donut reviews in 2 days. And it was funny because I pretty much, because I used to eat a lot of donuts all the time. And now I pretty much only eat donuts. I'm breaking kayfabe here, by the way. I pretty much only eat donuts when I do these reviews now, or do these critiques, because I'm a lot bigger than I used to be, and I can't be eating all the sugar all the time.
Can't justify it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who has been your favorite critique guest?
Oh, that's hard to say. Schlack was probably the most fun. He was into it from the beginning.
Who's Schleck?
Schlack, he's a deathmatch wrestler.
Okay.
Big monster muscles, covered in tattoos, just like I am. And he was this guy that when I first put it out there, I'm like, hey, who wants me to get Schlack to do a donut review with me? And people were like, yeah, he's not going to do it. He's like, he's in bodybuilding. They don't need donuts. So I hit him up directly. Like, oh, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And he's holding the donut up to his eye and looking through it and, flexing his muscles, and we're rubbing tummies. It was very fun, very funny.
Yeah.
I like it. I love doing one with Tommy McCobb just because he didn't break character. You know, he kind of like looks at the donut, takes a bite of it, growls at me, and walks off. I was like, that's great. That's great. Some people, you know, Judge Joe Dredd, he's another deathmatch wrestler from the West Coast. He takes the donut and he dips it into the blood leaking out of his arm and then bites into it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was great because he actually came up to me. He's like, "You're Germ T Ripper, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You got a donut for me?" I was like,
Oh, that's awesome.
"Yeah." I was like, "Oh, okay. This is my first time seeing you, first time meeting you, and you're requesting a donut critique. Sure, brother." Yeah, and it was like fall, so pumpkin donut was a big thing.
Oh, man.
Did a pumpkin donut.
That's all.
My shit right there, bro.
Yeah.
I'm a pumpkin spice fucking, yeah.
Okay.
He's a whore.
Yeah,
Whore when
pumpkin
it comes
spice
to
whore,
whore.
yeah. Fucking,
It's totally understandable. It's a great flavor.
it is. It is. People hating and shit, bro, on pumpkin pie.
We should have done should have brought conchas.
Right.
It's like, all right, we'll do your donut, but you got to do a concha review.
Concha review. You ever tried one?
I don't think I have actually.
No, they're like it's like a big how would you describe it?
Yeah,
like
usually
a-
pink or yellow.
Yeah, yep.
They're chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla.
Okay.
And they're little buns basically, and they're covered, but they're like a Mexican staple. People dip them in their hot chocolate. They eat them normally
yeah.
for breakfast and like with their coffee. It's just a normal thing. They're not that good. Okay. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a whole lot of hate for that one. Like they'll be like, Javi, how dare you? How dare you? Your Mexican card's on the review. Guess what? It's been on the review for years. But yeah, they're what it is. It's mostly all bread and a little bit of the frosting in it, and that's it. But they're a staple. They're a Mexican staple, man, and that's it.
I always see them in the store, and I always think about it because I'm like, oh, they look like a donut. And another thing, it would have been, I think, a lot farther out of the way than where I stopped on the way here. But I was thinking about going to Huck Finn's and getting
the big giant one.
giant donut.
Yeah.
I've never had one.
My son loves it.
Yeah.
And for several of his birthdays, he's got his like birthday cake and everything. But for him, he gets the donut. So we've actually put candles on the donut.
It's a big ass donut like
It's a
that?
big frosted donut.
Huge.
Really?
Yeah,
Huge.
it's massive.
Oof.
Yeah. When I used to work in that neighborhood, I'd see them like on the shelf, and it stuck with me, and that was because that was a long time ago.
They're good.
Speaking of birthday cake donuts and donuts for birthdays, my partner, he got me a birthday cake donut from Do Right Donuts, which is my favorite, but it was as big as a regular birthday cake. Yeah.
And it was a donut?
Yeah, it took forever to eat because he's not even into it. So it was just for me. And it was huge.
Oof, man.
It's a lot of sugar.
Yes. Now, you said you were originally from New Hampshire, right? Mm-hmm. What made you come to Chicago?
Love.
Okay. Came for love, huh?
The old thing.
And I mean, I shouldn't put a thumbs down. We were together for 9 years, but
So that's not who your partner now?
no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was young, and when you get into a relationship when you're young, like your tastes, you mature. You know what I mean? And if you're with somebody who's already who they are, by the time you mature, that's probably not who you want to be with anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I moved here to be with him because we met over the internet. We really kicked it off. I came to visit. I loved it here, and I loved him. And I moved out, I think 3 months later, and it went well for the most part. But it's just like I was saying, I got older and I changed. He didn't, and I just wasn't happy in the relationship anymore. But internet love, that's what brought me to Chicago. Sometimes I tell people, oh, it's the music scene. The music scene is fantastic here, and it was even better in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was love.
Okay. And you, after that relationship ended, was there ever any part of you that wanted to go back to New Hampshire?
No. I'd thought about it multiple times just because it's a lot quieter. But at the same time, I've lived in Chicago my entire adult life. Mm-hmm. Since I was 21. I'm 46 now. Mm-hmm. So this is my home.
Yeah.
Chicago is my home. I've worked in almost every neighborhood. I know the city, from the hundreds to as far north as you can get, and every corner of it. I know the city, and it's a love-hate thing, because there were times when I hated it, and there's times that I love it. The music and the art and the movies, the wrestling scenes here is amazing. The horror scene, everything that I love is so accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find that in a small town. You're not going to find that in other major cities, for that matter. Chicago just has everything that I want right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's my home.
That's awesome that you put it that way, where you say you have a love-hate relationship sometimes with it, because I don't think there is many Chicagoans that will always say 100% that they love everything about it. There's always going to be things that we hate about Chicago, right?
Yeah, the potholes, the politicians, the crime.
Except for the rat pothole. That one was cool.
just that one.
That one pothole was cool. But like you said, you love it here, right? I go through moments like that too, where, like, for example, the neighborhood where I grew up in is not what it used to be. Sometimes I don't feel safe in that neighborhood if I ever go to it. So it's like I hate having that that part of me, like, completely taken out, because now I don't feel, like I said, comfortable being in certain areas like that, right? But I love the city all around. But one of the things that I actually really enjoy about Chicago is when I leave it, coming back home to it.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm on vacation, I get tired of wherever I'm going, and then all of a sudden on the flight back, I see the skyline.
Yeah, skyline.
And then I go, hey, beautiful, I'm
Yeah.
back. Hey, baby.
Hey, I was hey, sexy baby.
Sexy baby.
Sexy babies.
Hey, Chicago, I see you. You're wearing braces. I
wear braces too. So then, what do you? Are you going to continue doing these ring announcings then? I know you said you're busy with all the other stuff.
Yeah, my life is keeping me pretty busy, but I'm kind of putting it off the side for now. If somebody asked me to, I definitely would. But I'm not actively searching out bookings. But yeah, if any promotion wants, peak flamboyant professionalism, I'm the guy they want.
Peak flamboyant, I like that.
Yeah, that's my new tagline. It's gonna be on my new T-shirt coming out.
Pink, okay.
Yeah.
It's I was gonna say earlier, I was gonna ask you about the wardrobe you wear for a lot of the stuff, and right now, as soon as you said peak flamboyant, I'm like, what? I guess that describes it, because you have a very unique wardrobe when you do all your announcing.
Yes.
I particularly am a fan of the suit with the shorts.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like just something very old school 80s. I particularly, that's probably my favorite Germ T Ripper outfit.
Yeah, the pink one.
Yeah, I think so. That's
it's
probably
pink shorts with a pink suit coat, no shirt, skull and crossbones, bolo tie, one leather glove with no fingers, and my leopard print flat cap. That is probably my favorite as well. And it's funny because I want to try something different. And the last show I did, I had gotten a red suit, very similar. And upon entering the ring right at the beginning of the show, I ripped the crotch out. And this was a learning experience, because the only other pants I had with me were the pants that I drove to the show in, which were like camo fatigues. I'm like, that doesn't go with the character. I can't change. So I'm trying to stand with like my legs crossed, and I'm trying to like cover up my junk because it was falling out. And
Two consecutive episodes, Danny.
Yeah.
2 consecutive episodes where this is the subject that we talk about. Nuts popping out on a wrestling show.
Who was
Ex-Con?
Ex-Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know who Ex-Con is?
No.
He used to wrestle with Pow back when they were first CCW, and then when they went to Pow, he what did he say he stopped? He retired like in, I think he said 2015, I think he said.
Okay.
Something like that. But his character is ex-con, right? So he comes out in a prison jumpsuit.
Okay.
And it's funny because I remember we were talking about it on the podcast. His first match, I wasn't wrestling yet, so I was just a fan in the crowd watching. So he comes out in his prison jumpsuit in his debut match, and you could tell it's like from like Party City. It's real cheap,
Oh yeah.
So then in the match, he gets a body slam, and the whole front of his fucking of his thing ripped. So, and he had on no fucking compression shorts underneath. It was just his boxers. And then all of a sudden, his junk and his balls were out flopping around everywhere.
Holy guacamole.
So we were talking about that on the podcast, and he was like,
Two
yep.
consecutive episodes where that seems to be the topic.
I'm glad that I was wearing boxer shorts, and I'm glad that they weren't like floppy. I was, I mean...
You felt the breeze, though, huh?
I'm very average size, so nothing was...
Nothing was hitting the knees or nothing?
No.
He wasn't swinging meat or anything.
But there were multiple people after the show being like, you know that you split your pants? I was like, yeah, I know when I split my pants.
Why you gotta throw it in? Why you gotta rub it in like that?
I was... after the first match, I was looking for a safety pin, and I remember Jimmy's like, you don't want a safety pin by your dick.
No, I was about to say the same thing. I was like, oof.
Yeah. And I'm like, I got to do something. So I just rolled with it and tried to cover it as much as possible because that was the very first time I entered the ring. So there's the entire show. And I think there was like 8 matches. I'm like, just do your best.
That's it.
Danny, have you ever had a wardrobe malfunction during the show?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I can't remember. Nothing pops out of my head.
I had in the beginning when I first started, I used to wear suits all the time because you're a rookie, so you don't know any better. You don't have an idea of what your character is gonna be. You think you do, and at the time when I was just managing, like on TV, all the managers always wear suits. So I was like, well, let's just wear a suit, and I didn't have that idea of like personalization, so to speak, like customization. So I just had a standard suit. It was like a pinstripe suit, and I remember. I reached for something in the ring. I think I was pulling the leg or something, and I felt something rip like on the freaking armpit, and I'm like, "Oh, that split! Oh shit! Fuck! Well, whatever. It's just a jacket, right?
Right.
I'll go with the flow."
Yeah.
But it just felt weird the rest of the night. The match was over. I come back. I didn't realize the entire back of it all ripped. So every time I go like that, it would like show the shirt. Luckily, the shirt inside didn't rip, but I remember going like, man, I tore this thing to shreds.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only time I ever had like an actual wardrobe malfunction.
No, I can't.
But,
I don't think I've had one. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Have you ever thought about actually getting in the ring and wrestling?
You know, if I was 20 years younger, I would have, and I started when I was in my 20s, absolutely. And I'm in my mid 40s now, and I'm uncoordinated, and I have a horrible sense of balance. So I think that if I had started 20 years earlier, I probably could work through those things. But now, as a middle-aged man, I would probably just break very easily and probably hurt other people unintentionally, which is not something I want to do.
Yeah, those bumps hurt a lot more now.
Yeah.
I venture to say that Germ T. Ripper, with this amount of charisma, would have made it pretty far in being an active wrestler.
I appreciate that.
I think you would have, because that's one of the things that is missing. A lot of times, people get so caught up in, I want to do these moves and I want to do them right, and they forget that a lot of what we do is all charisma based, all personality based, and they walk into the ring thinking they're hot shots, but they're not. They may be able to do a lot more moves than the average person, but if they don't have the personality to back it up, it's just not going to go anywhere.
It's true. That's a big thing, and that's why when I see somebody cut a horrible promo, I'm just like, go hit an open mic, a comedy open mic, because it's going to give you 3 minutes where you got to fill that time and you got to work on your charisma. You don't have to be funny.
Yeah.
But just talk for 3 minutes.
Have you done any open mics?
That was one of the things I've done. I knew I'd forget something. I did stand-up comedy for like 2-3 years.
What?
Really?
Yeah, so I was...
I've always wanted to try it.
I think the question should be, what haven't you done?
I think so. Yeah, my biggest accomplishment for that were probably when I was... I performed at Laugh Factory, and like having a picture of me sort of projected behind me, like real big with the name Germ T. Ripper. That was huge for me, and that was a lot of fun. I opened for some like Swedish prog rock band at Reggie's once doing comedy, and that was weird because the audience was just metalheads, and I don't think they were expecting 3 comedians to open.
Did you get any reactions?
Laughter. Yeah. It was one of the best shows I ever did. I got paid the most, $50 and a meal, which was great. And I think I only did like 20.
You don't even get that in wrestling.
Right? No. Yeah.
It's a hot dog and a handshake,
Better be a damn good hot dog.
or a damn good handshake.
Damn good handshake.
Jimmy's still working on his handshakes.
Oh no.
No. But no. What made you want to do that?
It was one of those things where I'd always thought about doing comedy because when I was in bands, I'd always have to depend on other people for my, playing songs, writing songs, doing comedy. It's just me. So if I screwed up, it's my fault. If I did great, it's my accolades. And so I'd always thought about it. And excuse me, there was one day at work where I worked overtime, and my boss was like, "Hey, I can't pay you for this, but I'll let you go early tomorrow." So I made this deal with myself in my head where I said, "Okay, well, if my boss actually lets me go early, I'm going to go do an open mic." And then he did. And I was like, "Oh, shit. I got to hold myself to this deal."
Yeah.
So I went and I did the open mic, and people were surprised. They were like, "This is your first time doing comedy?"
I was gonna say, did you already have material that you wanted to do?
I had ideas of stuff I wanted to talk about, but no, I hadn't written anything down, and it was all stuff that I just thought of between my house and driving to this club. I think it was like 15, 20 minutes away, and sitting there a little nervous because you get like between 3 and 5 minutes to just do your thing, and people are watching you because they're looking at who they want to book at the actual clubs, at the actual shows. And everybody said how great I did. They couldn't believe that was my first time up there. And then the second time I did it, I was still drinking, and I don't remember being on stage. I just remember the booker or the announcer, the MC, being like, "You're not welcome back."
Oh no shit.
You're like, "Sir, no."
Yeah, that should have been one of the times that I realized, don't drink. You should quit drinking. You're not good at it. So when I went back to doing comedy, it was after I got sober, and I realized that I've got to work at this, and it's just like everything else, like wrestling, like music, like everything I've tried my hand at. You got to work at it. So I was doing mics as much as possible. I was making connections, and little by little, more and more people were getting more interested in me. I got that Laugh Factory gig. I was getting more and more gigs, and I had a tour booked in 2020, and then the world shut down, and I just didn't want to start over. So that's when I let that go and started training with Pow to be a manager. But
So your wrestling journey per se is not that old. I mean,
No.
2020.
yeah,
Okay, so you
pretty
recently
short.
started, yeah.
yeah, very, very recently.
I'm curious. So the first time you went up on stage to do stand up, those first 3 minutes you ever done, what are you talking about?
Man, it was so long ago. It feels like so long ago because it was 2018, 2017. I know that I usually joke about how I like having sex with fat guys.
It's kind of funny because on his social media, he posts like big dudes and he goes porn.
Yeah.
So I find that hilarious because I already know.
And I do that on purpose because and I will make sure that they're fully clothed, and it's always like a farmer or somebody that no normal person would look at and be like, "Oh, that's hot." A politician or construction worker. I'm just like, porn. But yeah, I remember I did a show in Milwaukee where I did it like a half an hour on just how much I like having sex with fat guys. And,
A half hour, you said?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. 30 minutes. 30 minutes, because it's a progression. I talk about when I was a kid and coming to terms with my sexuality and talking about this, and then talking about how I used to masturbate to wrestling magazines because I couldn't get my hand on porn. So, there was Earthquake and Tugboat and King Kong Bundy.
Like I was tugging on my boat.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. Yes. Yeah.
Was that an early telltale sign of what your sexuality was going to be when you're sitting at home watching the matches and you're like, Earthquake and Tugboat seem pretty attractive. Right now.
Yeah.
I know Sonny's out there somewhere, and I'm not paying attention to her.
No, that was the thing, though. That was very specific to that body type. And I was like, well, I didn't see any gay characters like that in movies or TV. I'm like, well, there's no fat gay guys. I don't want to be gay. And then I got to college and realized that once I got on the internet, that's how old I am. And realized there were fat gay guys. I'm like, well, then I can be gay, I guess. And there were
celebrity crush.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Oh, all-time favorite celebrity crush, until he lost weight, of course, was John Goodman.
Then he went from sexy to no way.
Yeah, thumbs down. But then
So older years, Roseanne, John Goodman. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
But it's the whole aesthetic too, like the flannel shirt, jeans, boots, just like that working class aesthetic really does it for me.
What was it? The movie he came out. Is it King Ralph?
Yeah, King Ralph, he has a bathtub scene in. The Flintstones, he has a shower scene. There is a scene in Everybody's All-American where he's in his underwear wrestling with two women. He has a scene where he's half naked in The Babe. Yeah, I'm probably the only person you know that could list.
I said you studied that shit. Huh? Yeah, you studied that. Okay.
He returned those DVDs to Blockbuster all scratched from that area.
Yeah.
They're like, sir, we can't watch this. It's all in John Goodman's like naked parts.
Right. Yeah.
That is hilarious, and I've never heard it. I don't think I'm ever going to hear it again.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But, when I got to college and discovered that, like, this was a thing and that there were actual magazines, like Heavy Duty, Bulk Mail, spelled M-A-L-E. Yeah, these were magazines of just heavy-set dudes with little to no clothes on. And that was a big part of my comedy. Sketches was talking about the wrestling fascination to porn to, all the good times.
I'm curious as the crowd is like uncomfortable.
No.
This is funny.
Yeah. There's a lot of laughs, a lot of good times, and it was funny because I could get pretty un-PC, and in areas like Milwaukee or Indiana, they loved it. They loved like the more un-PC I got. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. But
Would you ever go back to doing it again?
Sometimes
Like,
I think about it.
Yeah.
And no, it was probably about a month ago. I had a guy reach out to me and ask me if I still did comedy, blah, blah, blah. And I said no, but he's like, well, I got a venue. It's like gay friendly. Kind of would like you to do like 10 minutes. I was like, yeah, what's the date? And he gave me the date, and it's the day before I was going to Disney World. So
Was that John Goodman?
No, it was my sister.
Oh, okay.
But I just wanted to make sure it was nothing serious. Oh, it's my mom's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to her.
Yes, thank you.
Now, does your mom, does she live out here, or is she back home?
Yeah, all my family is back in New Hampshire.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to call her after.
Okay.
Yeah. Go from fat guy porn to it's my mom's
Hey,
birthday.
Mom. I was just talking about my boyfriend, John Goodman.
Oh, here's a funny story about that. Actually, it was my first time being home from college, and I was packing all these magazines like Bulk Mail, Heavy Duty, American Bear, American Grizzly into this backpack that I took home with me, and I went out with my friends. I get home, and my mom's sitting in my bedroom crying, and I was just like, "Mom, what's the matter?" She's like, I saw you brought home one of your book bags. I was like, oh no. And I wanted to see your books from your radio and TV because I studied broadcasting.
Okay.
I wanted to see what your books look like. I'm like, oh no. So I looked in your book bag. Oh no. And I thought you were joking about liking fat guys. You actually do like fat guys. So on that note, if your child ever jokes around about liking fat guys, just believe
Just
them.
believe it,
Just
huh?
believe
Just
it.
believe
Yeah, they're not. No, they're not joking. Because you might just find a stack of porn when you're looking for their books.
Dude, that is hilarious.
Yeah, that was part of my bit too.
Who were you studying as far? Were you studying any comedians when you were doing your stand-ups?
Not really. I mean, my favorites were always like more sort of like out there alternative stuff, I guess, like Patton Oswalt or
He's funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was already kind of into the scene because when I was with Modern Day Rippers, singing with Modern Day Rippers, JT Habersat from Austin was touring, and he was doing this punk rock comedy tour where he'd have punk rock bands open for comedians. And I met up with him when he was doing a show in Chicago, and Modern Day Rippers opened for him. So that was like one of those things that kind of got in my mind, because he'd always be like, yeah, if you ever want to do 5 minutes, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I'm not ready for it. So, yeah, it was more like local comedians or comedians that I knew from the scene. I love JT Habersat. I love Eddie Pepitone. I love Derek Sheen, Maria Bamford, things like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were big influences, but at the same time, I was performing like really blue. Blue just means really sort of raunchy stuff.
Yeah. I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah, do it.
I do want to try it at least once.
Yeah, hit up an open mic and see how you do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't plan it out too much.
I guess I can't take I got to take sex with fat guys out of my bit, because I don't want to take that from you.
That'd be like
gimmick infringement.
yeah, gimmick infringement. Yeah. And if you did that in Chicago, people would be like, "That's Germs."
Yeah.
That's Germ's material right there. I'd be in the crowd screaming, "I boo!"
Lighter.
Yeah.
Dude, that, so then what's next for you, man? What can we see Germ T Ripper doing next?
Yeah, I've got nothing in the books. I've got nothing, just staying busy with work mostly, and sobriety keeps me on track, and just going to meetings and helping other people get and stay sober is my main priority. Other than that, I might start writing a new book. I'm open to more ring announcing if anybody wants to book me. But other than that, I'm not actively looking for anything, because right now I have an internship where I'm in the process of doing my CADC, so I'm actually certified as an addiction counselor. So that's taking up a lot of my time. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if people have a hard time fighting that addiction, they can reach out to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's no greater joy I have in my life than helping others get and stay sober.
And how can they reach out to you for that?
Through any of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. I deleted my Twitter. If you know somebody that knows somebody, get my phone number. I'm not giving it out over a podcast, though,
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people that are fighting that addiction, man, reach out to Germ.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do, because all you need is just a little bit of support, and it's hard to reach out. Like we were talking about earlier, it's hard to reach out, hard to give up, and realizing that you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
I'll help you get to meetings. I'll help you get into treatment, whatever the case may be.
That's fucking awesome, man. Well, Germ, man, thank you, bro. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Germ,
bro.
before we get out of here, I want to hear one story of your favorite time on stage in all your bands. You have a lot of bands, and I could imagine there's some stories in there that are like cray.
Yeah. Okay, my favorite time on stage with my band was when we opened for the Addicts, which was one of my all-time favorite bands. And it was an insane show because Reggie's was packed beyond capacity. The crowd was really into it. There's footage from one of my songs, I Believe in Pills, where you can see this guy in the crowd like pushing everybody out of their way. And I know he's straight. He's a friend of mine, pushing everybody away just to kiss me on stage. So that was a lot of fun. And my big thing was I would take like I would go to a Party City and get caution tape, and I'd wrap my legs up in it. And then while we're playing, I'd rip it off so that by the end of the show, I'm standing there in just like my underwear and shoes. And so that was fun to be on a big stage with a packed crowd in my underwear. But the craziest story was we were playing a tiny bar, Cal's Liquors, I believe. And I'm standing back in the crowd, and this band going on before us, the Functional Blackouts, they're busting bottles on the stage. And I'm like, I got to top that. So, since we were called the Rotten Fruits at the time, my band was called the Rotten Fruits.
Sounds like an Ozzy Osbourne thing. I gotta top that.
Yeah, I brought a bunch of rotted bananas with me, and so as the songs are playing, as I'm singing along, I'm running out in the audience and I'm smashing these rotted bananas into people, and then I strip down to my underwear and I sort of leap up into the air, and then I'm rolling around in the broken glass. And then I remember there was a bottle of wine I grabbed, and I'm like swinging it around my head and getting it all over the place. And then this big, tough-looking motherfucker got into my face. So I jumped into the air, and then I knocked him to the ground. And I'm still singing the song face-to-face with him. And by the end of our set, everybody that was inside is outside just watching from the window. So that was the most insane show that I remember playing. When we played New York, it was pretty insane too, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good memory there.
Rotten bananas.
Yeah.
No, man. Like I said, thank you, man. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, man. We hope you had a good time here with
Yeah,
us.
absolutely. You know, always a good time. Great to see you, fellas.
Yeah, you too. Definitely good to see you, man. Definitely good talking to you, man. Getting to know you a lot more. Like I said, usually at shows, like Javier said, you're doing the mic work, so you're out there the whole time. So we
Right.
really don't get a chance to talk. So it's
No.
cool to actually talk to you and get to know you, man. So thank you for coming.
We'll give them sexy babies. Ow!
There you go, man. Before we head up out of here, any last things you want to say? Plug your social media.
Yeah, you know, just be good to each other and stay safe and stay sober and enjoy life. But other than that, if you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Blue Sky, do your thing. If not, I'll see you around.
There you go.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Danny, I think our salute, our sign out today needs to be a little bit different. Okay. Rather than salud cabrones, I think we need ourselves a sexy baby.
babies. Yeah. Okay. That's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I'll get my water.
Yes,
There you
sir.
go.
So, again, I want to give thanks to Mr. Germ T. Ripper, Jeremy, for coming hanging out with us today. Big special thanks to our sponsors, the Law Office of Christopher Hoff and the Taco Villa in Villa Park. Big shout out to Chris and Bear Mysterio. Appreciate y'all, fellas. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Salud Cabrones Podcast. Germ, like we said, this is the part of the podcast where we'll raise up our beverages and we'll give a toast saying, what is it? Sexy babies, right?
Sexy baby.
Sexy babies. So
When I say sexy babies, everybody goes, ow. Sexy babies.
Ow!
We out.
We out.